My name's Jack Giganda. I'm 21 years old, from Sloansville, New York, born and raised. I like to consider myself a tinkerer. I do a lot with 3D printing, modifications. I like to bike, ski, snowboard, actually. I'm a pretty uninteresting person.
Come on. Okay.
I don't know what you want. That's all I got. Like I said, man, I'm not that interesting. May 3rd, 2014, I woke up, my girlfriend had slept over, and we went to see a movie. We were also planning on picking up my tuxedo for prom night that day. After the movie had finished, I had brought my girlfriend home, and I was on my way back to my house. I could always fall asleep anywhere. My brother's Jeeps. On the bus, I would always fall asleep and clack my head against the window. And I remember myself getting very sleepy. It's one of those things where you blink, and then you blink a little longer, and then a little longer. And then you just don't open your eyes after the blink. And I specifically remember waking up as I hit the gravel on the opposite side of the road and just thinking, oh shit. Because I was pretty much airborne at that point. I ended up going down the bank quite a few feet and head on into a tree. It was definitely just kind of a daze for a few seconds. But what I specifically remember is not being able to move my legs. The engine had pushed itself all the way back. The steering wheel was up in my gut, so I was pretty stuck. I couldn't really move. The windshield was totally shattered, as it would be, but there was glass in my hands. And when I went to look at the glass in my hands, you could tell my wrist was broken. It was just kind of hanging there. So after the accident happened, I don't really remember any feelings of panic to get out or anything like that. I was a little more concerned with not being able to move, and my sense of time's pretty screwed up through that whole thing. But I remember very quickly after it happened, someone came down to the car, to the window, and asked if I was okay, and you know, whatever else you might ask to someone who's probably about to die. She contacted the police first, and then my parents. I somehow remembered my mom's phone number through that whole thing, and read it off to her. And after that point, it's pretty much a blur. I remember closing my eyes, and every few minutes or seconds or whatever it was, I could hear her asking me if I'm okay, telling me I'm gonna be okay. And I remember vaguely responding to whatever I could. Well, when I got to the hospital, I don't specifically remember being there, but I remember the helicopter touching down, and you know, you could hear the voices going around. But I remember once I got inside, my whole family was kind of around, and they simultaneously had my whole family saying goodbye to me because they didn't expect anything to come of it. But at the same time they were doing that, I specifically remember they were drilling into my arm to give me a bone IV. And furthermore, while they were doing that, I specifically remember raving about the Spider-Man movie I had just seen, which in hindsight wasn't very good, but at the time it's really all I could think about. The first week or so in the hospital were rough, for sure. To be honest, a lot of the days I don't remember at all because I was put under most of the time. After the initial surgery, I'm sure my whole family was just happy to have me around. I think they quoted me at a 5% chance to live. For a few days, like I said, I was too swollen for anything. So all the injuries I ended up with, let's see. I had initially a level 5 liver laceration, a level 3 spleen laceration. I had broken my hip, completely blew the ball out of the socket. I broke my right wrist in 2 places. And more importantly, I actually had 2 drains in my side that were draining the bile from my ripped apart liver. 30% of it was still good, which is apparently enough for it to regrow. I had all the wounds that had to heal up from being chopped open, but that was still at the point where I had my torso cut open. So obviously I couldn't really move around. I couldn't even sit up. And I couldn't talk because I actually had a lot of tubes going into my mouth for breathing. I don't think they did any feeding through the tubes. But the worst memory of that whole experience, I had a mitt on my hand, just sort of like a big fat glove, so I couldn't grab anything because I was apparently trying to pull my tubes out, and that's a no-go. I remember trying to talk to my family, but so I would try and write letters in the air with my mitt, and no one ever knew what I was saying. But I remember so many times trying to draw letters of what I needed or wanted and just giving up and falling asleep.
Yeah, I know.
Here's the real footage. So how much do you think it was that you did spend before insurance?
Yeah, how much they
Or
were on that?
insurance? Without insurance?
Out of pocket.
No, what do you think the entire thing was?
With his accident and then his following surgeries, like his hip and his gallbladder and all of that, probably was $500,000, I would say.
If I were to go back to May 2014 and see myself lying in the hospital bed with a mitt on, waving scribbles, as cheesy as it is, I would definitely tell myself to hang on, because there's definitely a lot to live for. I would never have expected to make a full recovery. I would have expected to be crippled in some way, but you know, I do everything I want to do now. You know, you're here, so you got to make the most of what you got. And you know, I'm lucky to be here, to be honest. I honestly shouldn't be. So it's hard not to appreciate. There's still so much out there. So many people to love and to be loved by. And it's a shame to have that waste away.